Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the committee. It's a pleasure and privilege to present House Bill 191 to you this morning. You should also have a sub in front of you. That sub is included to attach some language recommended by the clerks to ensure they can follow the appropriate process for nominations, petitions, and also to eliminate some language that was prohibitive to the appointment process, which still will be available under the Constitution. So this bill, House Bill 191, really does three things. It empowers voters, it makes the process more transparent, and it also, as I alluded to, will maintain the constitutional requirements. And today in Jefferson County, when we have vacancies on our Metro Council, those vacancies are filled by appointment. And this bill will change that to something that is really desired by members of Metro Council in a bipartisan way, members of the General Assembly in a bipartisan way, and members of the general public in a bipartisan way. It is very broadly seen as undemocratic, the current appointment process we have, and we are looking to change that to special election when a vacancy occurs on Metro Council. And that is effectively what House Bill 191 will do. We'll move from appointment process to a special election, so the people who are represented by the council person will have a say in who their council person is.
Thank you. And thank you, Chair, for letting us present today. I am here today as the bill sponsor mentioned. I am Representative Rachel Rourke, Jefferson County, a fellow South Ender. And I'm here today lending my bipartisan support for House Bill 191 because of my belief that it is a more democratic process to have our constituents and constituents of their district elect their council member if and when vacancies occur. As many of you know, I previously served and worked as a legislative aide at the Louisville Metro Council. And during my time there, I witnessed the difficult nature that appointments brought. It took up time on the council. It's a full-time, it feels like full-time. They are part-time, but it works year-round. So it takes up precious time on the council, required council members of other districts to select members for a district they do not serve. And ultimately, whether the individual was a candidate for office or not seeking to become a candidate, it really didn't matter. It didn't really grant any favor to become an appointee if you were a candidate. Ultimately, the voters typically decide for someone else, is what we've seen over time. So with that, I will say that even serving in a district that before had a council member be removed from the Metro Council, having an appointment selected, I served in an office where there was really no clear transition. Dollars were spent outside of the district. And I think that the members of the district I served as a legislative aide for would say that that time did not benefit them. And ultimately, that is why I believe so strongly that the constituents should, of the impacted districts, should be the ones to decide who their elected official becomes at the Metro Council stage. And like the sponsor mentioned, it is both the constituents that we hear from as well as members of the Metro Council. And I believe that we are all fundamentally in agreement that this process is the better process, the more democratic process. However, I will say that in order to make sure that our elections are fair and represented, if there are improvements that we can be making in a bipartisan way to ensure that fair and representative nature, I believe that we should have that discussion. But overall, this is something I am in broad support of.
Great. Do we have any questions? Representative Raymond.
Thank you. I have a couple. Thanks, representatives, for bringing this. Our constituents certainly want a say in who represents them on council. So I want to say that. I have questions, though, about the election model that we're adopting. I want to be able to go home and say, we made it like how we're filling the Senate vacancy in my district, right? We made it like how Lexington fills its council vacancies. And it seems like the election model that's in this bill is brand new in Kentucky. And so I wanted to ask you to speak to that. Why adopt a brand new model rather than one that we already have that's proven that folks may be accustomed to or comfortable with? And how can we explain that to folks?
Thank you, Representative Raymond, for your question. The thinking behind the process that was chosen for this was to keep it as fiscally responsible and as expedient as possible for the constituents that are, for all intents and purposes, without representation during that time. That's the reason for the process chosen.
May I ask a follow-up? However people feel about straight ticket voting, it's quite often used. And it's my understanding that if a vacancy were being filled on a ballot in this manner, that a straight ticket vote would not count for anyone. And I think that would be difficult to message to voters, and I don't want anyone to later feel disenfranchised when they found out, oh, I cast my straight ticket vote, Republican or Democrat, and you're telling me I did not actually take a stand in the council race.
Would a straight ticket vote be on the ballot? On a special election ballot?
Thank you again for that question. And so the answer is no. This election would not be eligible for a straight ticket vote. However, if there was if this was part of a broader general election, let's say, for example, it would be separated in the way that someone could still cast a straight ticket vote for the normal elections, but the special elections would be separate. And we do have a representative from the clerk's office here today, Mr. Frank Friday, and I think he's going to be speaking in a moment. He could maybe add some more substance to that or reinforce that. So yes, that would solve that issue.
So sometimes special elections have two candidates or two races. What at that point would it do?
Two races for?
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Are there times where there's two on a special election? I think I've seen that before. Maybe not. Any Representative Herron.
Thank you, and thank you all for bringing this bill. I do think that this is something that we need to change, as there has been a lot of frustration with the process from the candidate side and the voter side. Very similar to what Representative Raymond brought up, I am a little concerned about the process of who would be on the ballot. And so I would suggest and hope that we could potentially do some type of pre-primary, I don't know what the term would be called, but something to get a smaller number of folks on the ballot at the end. So if it is I don't know if it would be called necessarily a primary at that point and then the special, but I have heard concerns about that from folks, and so that is something that I would suggest and like to hear. But then the other thing is, do we know exactly how much that would cost? I know that you had talked about the cost to have, to be able to have a primary first, right, and then the special.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Herron, for your questions. So to the first one, this is obviously being done in a very bipartisan manner through and through, and so I'm certainly open to considering any adjustments necessary to make the process better for our constituents. Secondly, the cost of the special election is $50,000, as noted in the fiscal impact statement.
Okay, we have a motion on the committee sub to House Bill 191. Any more questions? I thought we had a motion.
Move for
Need
adoption.
a motion on the bill as amended by the committee sub.
Move for adoption as amended by the committee sub.
I got second. All in favor? All opposed? Oh. Anybody else have another question? Go ahead.
Can we hear from the clerk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would just like just a little bit more clarification if we did the two. I know that he said it'd be $50,000. Like, what would the total cost be if we had to do two? Does that make sense?
Primary or runoff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, Frank Friday, Jefferson County Clerk's Office, Director of Government Affairs. We've looked at this, and there's kind of a little transition with the new voting equipment. Things are getting a little cheaper to run these under certain circumstances, but we calculated about $50,000 for a special election, general election, to do this, and then for a Metro Council sized district, and then you're probably looking at the same amount for if you want to do a primary ahead of time. So you're probably looking at another $50,000 to do a primary for this. Representative, Mr. Chairman, Brasher asked about multiple special elections. That's pretty rare. The only way this could happen is if you had maybe a special election for a member of the General Assembly in the same day that this special election will be happening.
In some precincts might
Yeah,
overlap.
a couple of precincts, yeah. So that may happen. But that would be pretty unusual. And in that case, you'd probably have the ballot would be pretty clear that you're only doing a straight ticket voting for one, for that General Assembly ballot. Or actually, there wouldn't be straight tickets. It'd just be that race. So you wouldn't need straight ticket to be one or the other. So it probably wouldn't affect that.
All right. We have a motion on the bill as amended. Clerk, call the roll.
Representative Branscombe,
Aye.
Representative Callaway, Representative Decker,
Yes.
Representative Gooch, Representative Herron,
May I explain my vote?
Yes.
I'm going to pass on this today. I do overall support this piece of legislation. I just want a little more clarity and see if we can fix the things that I talked about. Thank you.
Representative Hodgson,
Aye.
Representative Imes,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Representative Derek Lewis,
Yes.
Representative Scott Lewis,
Yes.
Representative Moser,
Yes.
Representative Raymond,
May I explain my vote?
Yes.
This has come pretty quick, right? And I just want to double and triple check that we've involved all the stakeholders we need to at the city level and in the Senate, folks who represent Louisville in the Senate. And I want folks to know for our last Metro Council vacancy, we had 21 applicants. And I am concerned if there are 21 people on the ballot. I just want to think through the use case of that. So I'm going to pass for today.
Mr. Chairman, am I allowed to respond?
No.
Okay.
No.
Sorry.
We're in a roll call.
Representative Swan,
Yes.
Representative Weber,
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes. House Bill 191 is passed with favorable expression. All right. House Bill 191 is passed as amended and with favorable expression. The same on the floor. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the committee.